President Biden's inaction, given the suffering in Gaza, is shameful. I mean, there's no other word for it. And if you look at the letter that Secretaries Austin and Blinken sent on October 13th, they lay out all the criteria against which they're going to measure whether there's more humanitarian aid getting in. None of those, almost none of them have been met. Maybe a teeny little thing that they're pointing to now. They also say, by the way, Knesset, don't pass the 2 bills banning UNRWA. Don't do it.
They did it.
They also say in this letter, ICRC should get access to prisoners. So what happens after the letter goes out? Israel passes the 2 bills, effectively shutting down UNRWA, and they have still taken no action on the ICRC. And still the administration says, oh, it's okay. So look, if the president, if he doesn't mean what he says, then he should stop saying it, because he looks so weak. The whole administration looks weak when they say to Netanyahu, don't do this, don't do that. This is against our values. This is against our interests. And then when they do it, does nothing. This is the problem.
I'm going to ask you a very straight question. Yeah. When Blinken and Austin wrote that letter on behalf of the president, were they lying? Were they lying when they said, we will take... Do you believe the day they wrote that letter, they said to themselves, in 30 days, we're going to crack down? They knew when they sent that letter they were never going to do it.
Let me say this. In the light of what happened just today, where they said this is a green light, after just a few days ago, the State Department spokesman saying that, you know, the Netanyahu government gets an F for lack of progress. Days after Cindy McCain, right, who's no lefty, says,
widow of John McCain.
Yeah, it says, quote, this is, the unacceptable is confirmed. Famine is likely happening or imminent in North Gaza, right? Given all that data, looking back, my concern is this was a political attempt to try to send a message to voters a month ago that, oh, the president really does care about the situation, the humanitarian situation in Gaza.
Senator, what you're saying is pretty stark.
No, in light of today's decision, where none of the criteria that they laid out, with one possible teeny exception, where we haven't really seen it, and they go ahead and say, okay, we really didn't mean this letter, 30 days ago? That's what they're saying.
But what does that say about the leadership of your party, that you, a prominent senator of the Democratic Party, are saying today that when they put that letter out, it was domestic politics, it was electioneering. They didn't actually care about starving kids in Gaza.
Look, this is the only way I can interpret it in light of today's decision, where everything that's going wrong in northern Gaza, given everything all the international humanitarian organizations are saying, given what Cindy McCain is saying, given what Kathy Russell, who's the head of UNICEF, is saying, that the fact that they refuse to take any action to hold the Netanyahu government accountable does call into question exactly what their purpose was in sending this letter.
In northern Gaza right now, famine, people being driven from their homes. I was with Omer Bartov last night, who is professor of Holocaust studies at Brown University, an Israeli-American academic, one of the world's leading scholars on genocide. He said, I didn't think this was a genocide. I resisted saying the G word. But what's happening in northern Gaza is undeniably a genocide. Do you agree with him?
I don't know the answer to that, Mehdi. And look, you're going to have a lot of scholars. Even the ICJ decision was a preliminary decision. They're looking at it. Others are. Here's what I would say. And it's interesting that Haaretz, which, as you and I know, is an Israeli newspaper, their editorial came out saying what's happening in northern Gaza is ethnic cleansing. And it does seem pretty clear that that's what's going on if you listen to the people like the Smotriches and the Ben-Gvirs. So
what does that say? I mean, listening to you say this, I'm glad you're saying this, but what does it say about the Democratic Party? What does it say about the United States that we're supporting ethnic cleansing?
This is an incredible stain on the Biden administration and on the president himself as he takes inaction despite all that we are witnessing